navigate. So you guys told me a bit about how you built your stores, but can you talk to me about kind of like the experience that you guys wanted to create with your store? What I think is pretty interesting is there's a lot of like experts now that are doing like retail design, but you guys were early, right? Like you guys were a few years ago, you didn't necessarily have that luxury, or maybe you didn't have that budget, or you just thought you could do a better job, which it seems like you might have done. Can you talk to me about like how did you guys think about what your brand and store was going to be like for the consumer?
Yeah, I mean, right off the jump, before all this application license mess, when we started Superette, we just wanted to bring familiar retail experiences to cannabis, and so that was kind of our north star right off the jump. And so we found that it was really interesting and a pretty big opportunity to do something like that, because it was innovating by not being innovative. Because at that point, everyone, especially in the Canadian market, was taking a very conservative approach to the regulations. We have so many set of rules that we all kind of work within, and it seemed like everyone was trying to play it safe. And so the result of that was a very clinical experience in an adult use market. Everyone was looking at, at the time, MedMen was becoming like very, very famous. And so everyone was like, oh, how do we become MedMen in Canada? How do we become the Apple Store of cannabis? And that was what they were aspiring to. Whereas we just want to bring it back down. We're like, how do we create community? How do we be innately familiar? How do we push on those nostalgia buttons so that people feel, you know, comfortable without even knowing what to say or like how to put that into words as to like why they felt comfortable in that space. And so with that, we flooded our entire space with the visual cues that were aligned to those to our inspiration. So like I said, like those flower shops, delis, bodegas, and you see those elements play out through not just our first location, but really play and lean into those as we build out our future locations and really work with the spaces and the communities that we're in. And so that each of them feel cohesive within the super ecosystem, but unique on its own and within that neighborhood. And so that was really important to us. And I think at the end of the day, it was really about having fun. And so like what that means is, right off the jump from the name, Superette, that in itself is a name for another like mini supermarket used in other places in the world, which in itself was unique to every other company that was using canna or leaf or bud in their name. To our logo, which we drew inspiration from bodega roses, that was fun. Using colors like red, green, and blue, and not being shy about the fact that we are in cannabis was a counter to the more muted, more neutral tones that everyone else was leaning towards. And so through that, we've really developed our visual identity system. We've been able to be creative in how we lean into those, to the elements and visual merchandising we use in store, to how we communicate on platforms like social media, and bridge that gap between the physical experience and digital experience. And I would say your brand, I think is grounded in your values and your purpose, but it's something that will continue to evolve. So I would say the Superette of early 2018, the fall of 2018, to the Superette today, there's a thread connecting those two, but it has dramatically evolved through time.
Hmm. Yeah. So for me, the feel that I wanted to create was a place that was safe. I think especially in the Black community, which is definitely who I represent, um, there's a fear and a stigma still around using cannabis. Although most of us use it, we don't want people to know. It's a secret. It's something that we hide. And I wanted it to be a place where you could come in, feel comfortable and safe to use your cannabis or to buy cannabis and to have conversations around it and to get questions answered. So I named the that's why I named the store Marion Main. I wanted to be able to bring cannabis to Main Street, to mainstream. But like Mimi said, our brand has definitely evolved over the years. So, we're at the point now where we've really understood our operations, which has been my focus the past few years, to really get the operations down pat and be prepared to scale, and do a lot of things internally. And now we're kind of circling back and really focusing on developing a unique uh, brand identity. And, the brand has been able to define itself kind of just from the interactions that we have, the people that we've hired, and the internal values that we maintain. But now we're really starting to translate that through how we communicate to the public, to you guys. So the brand is definitely evolving. We're looking at doing like a true rebrand over the next year. So yeah, we're really excited about everything that's happening in the future, and the industry has evolved a lot as well. So not only will your brand evolve with, you as your company grows and gets stronger, but this industry is evolving and you have to move with it too.
Love it. What about I can't finish this section without asking something that's critical. How do you guys bank? Right? I don't know how it is in Canada. I think some things might have changed for you over here, Hope. But like from the beginning to now, if somebody's thinking about opening up a store, what are some of the things that they need to know? You're dropping some gems on the mortgage, like that was clutch. But what else about banking?
Yeah. Well, in the US with banking, guys, you just have to find a bank in your state that is compliant. Most of the time, state chartered banks will work with cannabis companies or credit unions, but they're out there. They are out there. If not, there's some other really unique ways to do it. We have a complete cannabis compliant bank account, but to have those, guys, it's going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 a month just in fees, just to have the bank account open. Um, you're also going to pay extra fees for to get an armored car to pick it up and all these things. I mean, you could brave it yourself, but I mean, it just really becomes strenuous, especially if you, let's say you're banking with a bank that, and most of the time these are small banks, they might have two locations that are like 2 hours away from your store. You're not going to be able to drive there every other day. And some stores, I mean, in some states, people are doing like $1 million a month. You can't keep all that money in the store. It's a safety hazard. You just can't do it. You're going to have an armored car come pick it up. So it's possible to find. They exist. They cost a lot of money, and they are a little bit harder to find, but they do exist. Current operators can help you with that. Anyone in Maryland, that if you get a license, there's going to be some new companies coming on board. When adult use comes to the state, I can definitely help you guys navigate that. But yeah, they do exist. They're just a little far and few between, and they cost a little bit to run, but your business can handle it, and it's worth it. This is an expense very much so worth paying.
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, we are very lucky to have a federally legal system, and so we are able to navigate the banking and insurance world a little bit easier than U.S. companies. But it's not. It doesn't come. It also comes with its own set of challenges. A lot of it has to do with fees and kind of requirements, and so as much as these service providers work with cannabis companies, their thresholds and standards are completely different from what a normal company does. They still see us as high risk. And so there's a huge stigma against cannabis companies in general. So say, for example, credit cards, like we have to put up cash collateral for our credit limit. Things like that is not normal for any other normal industry. I always lump in insurance because it's a huge cost to us, like D&O insurance, property and liability insurance. We get charged like 2 to 3 times a normal company does just by virtue of us being a cannabis company. You would think that as a regulated business that the government already like oversees to so much scrutiny, you'd think they would be safer than any other company out there. But it's kind of like the opposite. They'll just say, nope, you're cannabis. We don't trust you. So we're going to overcharge you. We're going to set these egregious terms on you, and you'll just have to deal with it because that's kind of the cost of being an operator.
Cold world. That green tax is real.
Oh yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. We're gonna do one more quick oh, hold on one second here. I'm actually just gonna call on the audience here. If we can have one of our audience members ask their question. I think I had Aaliyah here. Because we only have hope for a few more minutes. Let's see. All right, Aaliyah.
Hello. Hey, well, I just
Help us.
wanted to say, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Real quick, I wanted to say, Jacoby, you're actually I'm like taking notes and you're asking, bomb questions. So I definitely want to thank you for that. Mimi and Hope, congratulations, ladies. I completely salute you. Actually, I am based in Maryland. I opened up a recording studio out here, and I have no background in a dispensary, but Tiffany Jefferson actually referred me to you guys as far as this conference. So I know you don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to say I do want to get into the business. As far as Hope, I was actually wondering. I know that you opened one in Maryland, but I'm trying to see whether do you think that DC might be kind of, I wouldn't say easier, or would you say Maryland? Would you suggest either or? And also, are you looking for other investors as well? Because particularly, I would like to expand as far as maybe other states, because I really would like to envision something where some places may be legal to have kind of like a lounge area, if possible.
Yeah. Well, okay. So right now, how it works is you have to catch an application process when it's time. So that's the first thing I'll say. You need to continuously monitor what's happening in all of these different states. So in DC and in Maryland, and what's happening in DC right now is there's this really thriving gray market in DC. So medical cannabis is legal there, and recreational cannabis is legal in DC. However, they don't
Right.
have a program set up for adult use yet. But what they do have is home grow. So they allow you to grow, a certain amount of plants in your home if you're a resident of DC, and then you can gift cannabis in DC. You can gift
Right.
it for no monetary value.
Right.
People have used this loophole to open up whole actual storefronts where they will gift you cannabis with like a t-shirt, or you paying like a $60 t-shirt or a $60 sticker or a $60 consultation. I've even seen that. And the consultation will be like, do you want to be up or low? Okay, low, cool. That's your consultation. That costs $60. Now here's your gift of an eighth of weed.
Right. Because I was actually even thinking of incorporating it with like the recording studio somehow. Like,
well, it's illegal
but,
to do it, but at the same time, it's illegal, but it is a loophole that no one is enforcing. So, people are going to use this time to rack up as much money as they can, which is okay. That's okay. It's just my business model doesn't support that type of business personally. But, I know people doing extremely well that have multiple stores like that. It will get shut down as they legalize or create a program and a licensing process for recreational, which is coming. I don't know if you've been following, but the mayor announced the bill, and also the DC council actually announced a bill to Congress to be able to add it to the rider for the budget, to be able to have the alcohol and tobacco commission in the district to license companies. So it's coming. I would say just monitor the process. It may happen this year, maybe next year. And something similar is happening in Maryland right now. So Maryland, there are two bills that were introduced that would legalize cannabis for adult use and create a full program. The exciting thing is, you have an opportunity to help shape these programs right now. So you can write to the bill sponsor and people on the committees that are kind of looking at these bills and voting on them, and tell them the things you want to see. So if consumption lounges are important to your business model, you can definitely do your best to try and include those things in the legislation, because that's where all of this starts in the states, guys. Like if it's not in the bill, it's not going to be able to happen. And a lot of the people writing these bills just simply don't know, or they have preconceived notions on like what things look like. So consumption lounges scare a lot of legislators. So you have to really present a strong case on why you should do it. That being said, there are states that do allow it. So you could go somewhere else, somewhere like a Oklahoma almost has an open licensing program. They have no caps. It's not a competitive process. If you meet the criteria, you can open up a store and it's more of a free market. And those that will fail, and those that will win. And then there's markets like Maryland or even somewhere like Florida that is extremely, in my opinion, messed up because, they gave out like 5 or 6 licenses and you had to like have been a farmer in Florida for like 20 years. I mean, it was something ridiculous and allowed you to open up as many retail stores as you want. So we now have a company, Trulieve, that came out of Florida that's $1 billion company. And they pretty much have like 60 stores in Florida and maybe 1 store in another state. Like, I mean, they literally built their empire, $1 billion empire by getting 1 license. So you really have to just look at all the states' laws and regulations and figure out what works with what resources you have and the business model you want to create. Also know that these things are going to be evolving and changing over time, and will allow for a lot more inclusiveness over the years. But right now, things are really tight. People all have these amazing ideas for things they want to do, and it's just not legal yet. But it's coming. So I would say just monitor, also realize that early adapt or people who get these licenses first will be grandfathered into all of these new regulations and cool things that happen over the next 10 years. Like I'm always going to be a part of the Maryland medical or the Maryland cannabis market, period. Like that, they're never going to take my license from me unless I mess up. But all the new things that are coming on, I'm always going to be able to participate in, right? So even if a program is extremely limited or restrictive, I would say still go after the license because being an early adapter will allow you to either, like Mimi talked about, that secondary market for licenses after a lot of people won. You either can do that, sell them for a lot of money. Those pieces of paper are worth a lot of money. Or you ride it out, operate how, within the regulations that you have, and then you evolve into the business that you really want to be as the regulations allow. So to answer your question about which state is easier or best to pursue right now, I'd say they're both kind of about the same. They're kind of in the same place that like nothing has been officiated and there's no additional licenses like currently in sight, but they will be in the next 1 to 2 years. And you kind of just have to follow along as well as participate in helping to develop these laws.
Yeah, I just want to add 2 quick comments that I know Hope has to leave. We had a guest on here, Shaun from Elevate Cannabis, another dispensary owner. He had some great advice. Either shoot your shot or go to another market where it's easier to get a license. Because once you get some of that experience, it's so much easier to come back to
way
a
helpful.
limited license place. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he did. We're good friends. Like he started in Oregon. It was much easier to get a shop open there. And now he's in Massachusetts, which is a highly coveted state. And it's very difficult to get a license there. But that experience gave him the 1, finances, and 2, the background and resources and connections to be able to get that license. So totally. Shoot your shot, or if you're really about this life, move to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to chime in on that, I like that's relevant even all the way up here. Definitely grateful to be a first mover in my market. And also time is a luxury. And so cannabis is a space that continues to evolve. So being able to iterate and learn from your mistakes is really, really important. And developing that trust with the customer also takes time. It's not something that comes, overnight. So, if you're able to make a step and get in early, like that is a very, very good